Okay, good morning. Welcome everyone to our off-calendar meeting. And Jessica, could you please call quorum?
Yes, and I'm going to do this a little differently, members. I'm going to call your name and also the address that you're participating from, if you can confirm that that location is correct and that you're present. So first, here in the meeting room is Ms. Pulowski at 1747 North Market Boulevard, Suite 182.
Present.
And then Mr. Espinoza at 33 West Broadway, room 1300.
Correct and present.
Ms. Usry from Orland Free Library, 333 Mill Street.
Correct and present.
Ms. Mitchell from the Hillsburg City Hall at 401 Grove Street.
Yes, correct, and I am present.
Thank you. Dr. Solicitos from Greater Good Veterinary Care, 1250 Commerce Center Drive.
Correct and present.
All right. Dr. Bradbury from Veterinary Emergency Group, 622 Contra Costa Boulevard, Suite A.
Correct and present.
Perfect. Dr. Banyek from Pine Animal Hospital, 900 Pine Avenue.
Correct and present.
Perfect. And then Ms. Orlowski from UC Davis Health, 2335 Stockton Boulevard, room 2115. Oh, you're muted.
Correct, although the room was changed on me this morning to suite 2324, but I changed that information on the posted notice and I put another notice on the other conference room.
Perfect. You are a pro. Thank you. All right. Yes, it is. All right. We have a quorum. Thank you.
Okay, so Jessica, if I could just turn over to you for the conduct of this meeting.
All right. So we have item 2, public comment for items not on the agenda. We do not have any public members present. Any board members, do you have any public members present at your locations?
I do not.
No.
All right. Everybody shaking their heads no. So then I'm going to turn over to the moderator. Would you mind opening up for public comment in the room? Or I'm sorry, online?
Hi, this is the moderator. If you would like to make a comment on this agenda item, you may look for the raise hand icon at the bottom of your WebEx screen. And if you are a call-in public member, you may press *3 to raise your hand. And you'll have 3 minutes with a 15-second warning to make your comment. We'll give you a moment. I see no comments. I return the floor back to you.
Okay, so then we're going to go to agenda item 3. And let's, if we can share the memo so you all can see it. One sec. All right, so for the interest of time, I'm not obviously going to go through this verbatim because I know you all have had the opportunity to read it. Just the quick introduction. We did receive confirmation from Senate B&P staff that they do intend on including the attached language into the Board of Chiropractic Examiners Sunset Bill. That bill is scheduled to be heard in the Senate committee on June 29th. And due to the timing, we had to have this off-calendar meeting to discuss it to allow the board an opportunity to weigh in on the bill. I did provide in the memo. Oh, there we go. I did provide in the memo just a reminder because I do know that we have some newer members, so I wanted to make sure that everybody had the ability to watch the presentations that we had from Nevada and from Kentucky, both veterinary boards who do regulate other allied health professions. So we wanted to make sure everybody knew that that is happening in other states, and you could see from them how they believed it was going and how they were regulating it. So I wanted to make sure that everybody had that information. And then we went through in the memo and just identified some implementation concerns with the bill. And just really quickly, I'll go through the highlights of it. The first one is unclear between the for the registration requirements. It requires them to register, but there's a difference between going onto a registry, which is like it's going to act like a list, and then there's a requirement to actually obtain a registration. The way that this is worded, it seems like it's going to operate more like a registration, because you have the requirement that they submit a form, it expires, it renews, there's CE tied to it, and then you could discipline. So it's acting more as if it's a registration or a license. And so we just recommended that be restructured if that's the intent of the bill. The other thing that I pointed out is that there's no proof of verifying that those requirements prior to practicing are met by either board. So whether it's the Board of Chiropractic Examiners or us, there's not a requirement that all of the items for the registration are met prior to them practicing. And so typically one or the other should verify that, and then they get that registration, and then they can start practicing. So we identified a recommendation there for implementation. There is a reference to training in the section 1060 subdivision B7D, but it doesn't say that that's the training that it referenced in the beginning, or the training for continuing education. It just says training. And so for those members who recall, when we had this issue when it came to the RVT programs, there was not a clear outline of what that meant. And we had some individuals that happened to be a coworker of an RVT, and because they were an RVT, they can then create this entire program, and that wasn't the intent, and so we had to clean it up. And so that could be something similar here, where it's referencing training, and I could just be a colleague of Christie's and say, okay, now I'm going to give you we're going to talk about it, and now that's the training. So we just recommend some kind of parameters around what this training is referring to. And then for newer members, I know that the more seasoned members know that In Good Standing has had a lot of challenges when it comes to consistency. And in the general BNP, you're going to see a ton of references to In Good Standing. You're going to see a lot of other practice acts in California that have In Good Standing. But as you all may recall, that it's very subjective of what In Good Standing means. And in the discussions with other states and Canadian provinces, it's vastly different across the board. And so what we have recently done is updated our statutes to remove the in good standing and have other parameters, specific objective parameters to what that means. And so we recommended that also be cleaned up if this were to take effect. There is a concern related to consumer confusion. In the language, it requires notice postings if they're not in a registered veterinary premises. So the posting would essentially tell them that wherever it's conspicuously posted that they're not licensed by the California Veterinary Medical Board, but we may take complaints. But we are registering them, and then we are able to take complaints and discipline. So the consumers don't know the difference between a registration and a license. So my concern is it's just going to be confusing to them, and then they also wouldn't know, well, why would they file a complaint with us if we don't license them? So I think it's just going to cause some confusion with that notice requirement. I am concerned about the fee structure. If this is going to operate as a registration, those of you who are familiar with how we had to do, or how we were looking at animal rehabilitation, the fees need to cover the cost of the entire program, not just the cost for issuing the license, because that license or registration fee might be lower than the cost of covering the entire the administrative and enforcement costs of that registration or that license. And so $100 is not going to get us there. It's going to be whatever the fiscal would be for the cost of doing the entire program, then divided up by the number of participants. All of the numbers that we have are preliminary. I did reach out to Kristen Walker from the Board of Chiropractic Examiners, who's here with us today. Thank you. And we anticipate potentially up to 300 individuals who may qualify for the certification over the next few years. I think it was around 30 or so that could qualify for it immediately, 30 or 40, who could qualify for it immediately, but you're going to have those upfront costs to raise the program up, and then the ongoing costs as well. So just in short, it's $100 isn't going to get us there, and it's only $100 for initial fee, and that's it. So there's no reference to an application fee. There's no reference to a renewal fee. And so obviously those I think would have to be looked at. They then provided some minor technical amendments that we don't need to really go through. Those are more cleanup stuff. And then I provided what regulations we saw we needed to do. And with that, is Justin on? I don't know. Justin, are you able to hear us? So
Yes,
Justin, if you
yes,
don't mind,
I'm here.
I also had Justin and Elizabeth, our reg counsel, go through the bill and identify any other areas they saw for the potential regulations. So Justin, if you don't mind, if there's any that I had missed from the memo, can you just briefly go over those?
Yeah, I think just briefly, I mean, I think you've touched on most of it, but yeah, we just kind of went through the legislative proposal and identified like specific areas where we might need like further regulatory development. So there's some provisions dealing or discussing unprofessional conduct. So that might require some clarification in the regulations. Also, for verification of continuing education, in our Practice Act, we have dedicated articles for Article 9 CE for veterinarians, Article 10 CE for RVTs. So that might require a dedicated article in our regulations. There's also discussion of location requirements, and it's on page 5 of the proposal, page 12. Says the board may establish additional requirements for locations where authorized animal healthcare services are rendered through regulation. So that would need to be looked at. Also, some references or provisions dealing with VCPR. So, we might need some additional clarification there. And then also references to reporting obligations. So I guess that means we would be reporting any disciplinary action to the chiropractic board. So I think those were the other items that I had flagged.
Okay. And then Justin, would you mind giving just the preliminary? Sorry, go ahead. Is there someone else? Oh, sorry, we getting feedback in the room. Justin, would you mind just giving the preliminary estimates of the fiscal impact that you saw?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, we're kind of looking at this as a new license type. So we had referenced previous fiscals that we had done specifically with the physical therapy bills. More recently, AB 814 from 2023. So we just looked at kind of the common areas, kind of mirrored our preliminary fiscal, just kind of looking at that previous fiscal. So we were looking at potential IT or breeze costs for setting up the new license or the new registration type, potential staffing costs ongoing, and then regulatory development. Obviously, we would look more closely at the proposed legislation and identify the areas where items need to be further clarified in the regulations, and just kind of taking into account that whole process of working with our regulations council, taking these proposals, regulatory proposals to the MDC, to the board, accounting for executive officer time, or legal counsel's time as well. And then also enforcement. So although we don't anticipate a lot of enforcement costs, that there always is that potential. But anyway, these, just preliminary costs. Did you want me to share the dollar amounts? Okay, so just preliminarily, so year one, we're looking at approximately $76,000, and then as ongoing costs, factoring in the staffing that might be required, we had about $119,000 per fiscal year.
So sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, that was it.
So just like a couple clarifications, so that number didn't include if enforcement case went through discipline. So if we had one that went through discipline, that's not necessarily covered in that preliminary estimate. And then how it works for initial upfront costs, those would have to be either kind of worked into the fees, but keep in mind when it comes to setting up a new license type, you typically aren't going to see the actual revenue from that until you get hit to the renewal fees. So any upfront costs would really be absorbed by the other licensed professionals that we have while we build this program up, and then it will start paying for itself. So just to keep that in mind, that there's initial upfront costs to starting the program.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Tara Welch, Board Counsel. I have a question on, is there any anticipated time frame for how long it's taking regulations to get through the OAL process? I didn't see any delayed implementation of the registration itself. The only delayed or deadline requirement is by July 1, 2028. So a year and a half from effective date of the bill, the board would be required to promulgate regulations for CE and registration renewal. But if it sounds like there are other regulations that likely would need to be created, go through a public process with the board and then submitted through the OAL process as well. Do you know how long that might take?
Hi, Elizabeth Dietzen-Olson, Regulations Counsel. It's the standard amount of time. Justin and I were discussing that we could either take this as one whole package and just go through everything. We discussed, do we want to do a separate article that would all be animal chiropractic, or are we going to drop things in throughout the regulations like we've done for other situations? So that's one of the considerations we have to go through. All regulations usually take about 18 months to 2 years, depending on how complicated and complex they are. This would be based off a statute, which in some ways makes it a lot easier. I'm not sure if that's the answer you were looking for.
Yeah, that's helpful. I know there's some other boards that are struggling with dual scope issues, and I think those regulations trying to accommodate both boards and the concerns of each practice. I know those have taken up to 7 years to get situated between the two different practices. So I think 18 months to 2 years, that's the whole process. That's not just the creation. It may take a little bit longer given, that we're talking about human practice today, moving that into animal practice. So it may be helpful if the bill contained a delayed implementation date, so that the board could have sufficient time to get implementing regulations in place before the new registration was issued.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you. Okay, so that covers the implementation and the regulations part of the memo. And then the policy concerns, you guys are not limited to that, but we're trying to help with the conversation in general. And as you all know, staff doesn't weigh in on a policy. That is all for the board members to weigh in on. And so just some quick policy considerations, assuming that all the implementation concerns are addressed and we're able to implement, it's really up to all of you as the policy makers of whether or not this is good for consumers and for their animals. So obviously the bigger question, which it does seem like the legislature for the most part has spoken on, they do believe this should happen. As far as, well, I should take a step back because it's really the committee staff language. So I put in the memo, this language came from committee staff. It had not been reviewed or approved by either chair of the Senate or Assembly Business and Professions committees. So we, for the policy concerns, if the implementation concerns were addressed, the question is, will California consumers and their animals be protected if the proposal were to take effect? And essentially the first one is removing the direct supervision requirement for those who have this certification. Another one that I had raised is related to unlicensed practice no longer being a misdemeanor, because if they did not meet those requirements in the statutes, we would consider that unlicensed practice. And currently, unlicensed practice is a misdemeanor. And so this is taking that out of there. So that whether we had some concerns that we just wanted to raise there. And then also there was a specific amount of 125 hours for animal chiropractic under the proposal would require the chiropractor to have provide a minimum of 125 hours under the direct supervision of the licensed veterinarian, or the chiropractor has practiced the MSM for 1 year to be authorized to practice. So the other policy question is that a sufficient time to demonstrate adequate experience? So we also received CVMA feedback that they requested to share with the board, and I don't know if there's anyone online from CVMA, but I also know that this timing is conflicting with a couple other bills that were going through hearing today. So I don't know if they're able to participate as well. But with that, just the bigger ask is for all of you to review and consider and discuss, and then potentially take a position on the bill if you're ready after you hear from all of the stakeholders and the public. So with that, Dr. Solicito, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, right. Thank you so much. So I guess this is the time where we would like to acknowledge like the board members who would like to make comments. I see Ms. Orlowski. You have your hand up. Go ahead.
I have a clarification question. It looks like the proposed BNP has two things. It contemplates a certification program by the veterinary board, as well as a registration program. So, and I apologize for my ignorance. I did try to do my homework, but is there an existing certification program recognized by the veterinary board? And if so, would there be a separate regulatory requirement for the establishment of a certification program? And then obviously then the other question has to do, so that's my first question.
Yeah, so if you look at page 8 of the memo, that's the section that I think you're referring to of the existing certification programs. And so A and B are already in existence, and then C is where it's referring to a certification program recognized by the Veterinary Medical Board. And so that's where we had touched on in regulations. We would need to, if there are any other organizations who do want to do a certification program, then they would essentially let us know, and then the board would have to review that and decide whether or not we want to recognize that certification program. And then also, and then if we did, we would add that through regulation.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, I guess we move on to the next board member, Dr. Bradbury.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm pretty concerned about this. The timing of it, I think, is it disenfranchises stakeholders from being able to participate in due process when it comes to we have one board creating a new license under our Practice Act, which I can't. I find that that's hard to believe that that's even allowed to do in a sunset review. I don't think the sunset review is intended to have one board change another board's Practice Act and create a whole new license. To me, that's the biggest issue I see here, is the creation of a new license that is not just for chiropractics, but is for animal health practitioners, and doing this not even putting it in their act so far. So veterinarians, consumers, anybody can't even read it or have a chance to get involved and provide public testimony or debate. I have done some research because this seems to me to be unprecedented. I could be incorrect, but as far as I can find, I can't find any other instance of this. And I, found some things that were like, there's supposed to be a separation of powers that prevents another board from doing this. From what I found, the Cairo board would need to lobby lawmakers and introduce a separate standard legislative bill where our board, the public, stakeholders have their full constitutional right to due process. So, just for that alone, I have very strong issues with this. I definitely agree with the consumer protection concerns. I think that this is really rushed, and a lot of the details haven't been hashed out. I also find it interesting that I believe, there's not any specific legislator that's asking for this. I don't know if the chiropractic board is asking for this. I also found that the Chiropractic Initiative Act of 1922 is how the Chiropractic Board came to be. And that is a voter initiative. And it actually states that they have to stay within the scope of practice as defined in that act without voters voting on it again. But my main concern is the addition of this new license to our act being put through a sunset review process, and I think that does have some consumer does raise some consumer protection concerns. But beyond that, it is I would oppose this. I'm not opposed to chiropractor. I actually found that the educational program that was presented to us in those meetings is more robust than many of the other allied health professionals. I am personally not overly opposed to the idea of some of this, but I don't think this is the way to do it. And I think there would need to be a lot more consumer protections involved. So that's my 10 cents.
Can I just provide one point of clarification? In the beginning, Dr. Bradbury, you had said about a board changing another board's practice act, and I just want to be very clear that this is not requested by the Board of Chiropractic Examiners, and it wouldn't be one board changing another board's act. It's being proposed by legislative staff, and so they would be doing it to both acts. So I just want to make it clear it's not one board doing it to another. Okay.
Thank you so much for your thoughts, Dr. Bradbury. And I think we have a few more of our board members who wanted to share their thoughts. I think we have initially Dr. Maniak. I believe you had your hand up first.
Yes, thank you. I agree with you, Dr. Bradbury. One thing I would say is, since legislators are pushing this through, one way that I'm trying to think, how could this, if this goes through, how would it be able to protect the consumer? And I think one way that, I don't know if this is a possibility, but make a recommendation that the same, they go through the same rigorous testing as international veterinary graduates coming to the U.S. and to California licensing. I think that would be a way that I could get behind it, is if they go through the same rigorous testing that international graduates go through.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maniak. And now, Mr. Espinosa.
Yeah, my thoughts were it just seems the process is rather rushed and there's a lack of transparency. And it seems it should be more a standalone where you have the interested parties able to contribute transparency, kind of hear the different voices both for and against. And to do it this way and kind of catch us, I think, frankly, a little bit off guard and do it on the sunset. I just think it, uh, it it doesn't bode well for quality policy change to do it this way. And I think a different process where it was a standalone would be better served. I know for those of us who, at least speaking for myself, who are public members who don't have a lot of the knowledge, it really benefits when there's if it goes through the legislature with just focusing on these changes and have the different interested parties come in and say the different sides of the pros and cons. I think that just contributes to a better outcome rather than what we're seeing here. That's my thought. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now we have Ms. Mitchell. I see your hand up.
Yes, I am in agreement with my fellow board members, and from a public member and kind of a naive standpoint of a consumer and pets, this does seem confusing. If I'm going to a chiropractor and they're going to do chiropractic on my animal, and I would assume that the veterinarian license would be an important part of this. So it really is confusing. And there's a couple of comments that on the suggested amendments that say they may not know the benefit of filing a complaint with a board that does not license them. Also, if consumers do not know the difference between license and registration, I think those are kind of key points that consumers don't know those things. And so it's important for us to be able to understand who's overseeing this work and how that's going to impact our animal, because we put a lot of trust, right? And so I think that this may be premature as well, and I appreciate the other comments.
Okay. Anybody else who would like to share their thoughts? Ms. Orlowski?
I'm just going to add, we'll round out the public member comments, but I feel that the oversight of this practice should really be with the veterinary board more so than the chiropractic board. I understand that a requirement potentially, and again, this needs to be more vetted, would be that the practitioner is a licensed chiropractor. But if they're engaging in treating animals, then whatever we call it, a registration, a certification, or whatever, that the veterinary board would grant and oversee their practice and be able to appropriately discipline the practitioner. It really, to me, it's a shift then to the oversight of the veterinary board, where the chiropractic board piece would be almost secondary. That's my feeling. And it does feel rushed to kind of vet these issues out.
And Dr. Solcito, we don't have the ability to raise hands, so Christy's trying to raise her hand, just so you know.
Okay, so, all right, so I guess let's hear from Christy first before Dr. Bradbury.
Dr. Maniak, I would like to hear an explanation, a little more clarification from you, or clarifying your comment, but I would also just like to say, I don't disagree with any of you in what you were saying, and I feel that we could do a better job for the consumer if we were to take our time and put out a better job, because I feel that we are rushing to something that is not best for the consumer in the long run, because the language is unclear. It is, it's, I don't believe that there's so many, I just think that, like you said, certification versus registration versus, it doesn't match. Nothing matches, and what we're trying to match two practice acts, and it doesn't work. And I think that, and we're not hearing from the two sides. And I think it would be best for us to listen and get it right. If legislators want this to go through, we need to hear from everybody, and I think that would be super important. So I know Dr. Bradbury wants to comment, but I just would like, after that, if we can hear Dr. Maniak, I just want you to, when you said they have to go through the rigorous testing, I just would like to know if you could expand on that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's do Dr. Bradbury first.
Oh, if Dr. Maniak wants to respond, that would be fine.
Sure, I'm happy to. So, in my view, and I think most people's view, if you're doing chiropractic work on an animal, that's under the purview of veterinary medicine. We have people in veterinary medicine that do that work, and therefore, the legislators are asking us to approve another way of practicing veterinary medicine. And therefore, if that's what they want, then it needs to be shown that it can be done safely to the public by them going through the same rigorous testing as people that are practicing veterinary medicine.
Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Bradbury.
Yeah, and I agree with what everybody's saying in terms of this being rushed, and again, this wouldn't change just for chiropractors. It is adding a whole new group of licenses, just saying allied health professionals, and I'm not sure if that was intentional or not, but even if this just said chiropractors, it would be better. But I am just wondering, since we are all in agreement that it would be better if this was done in a standard, legislative bill. If, previously we've all been, we haven't been supportive of that. We've been open to listening, but we haven't been supportive of that. But given this, what we're looking at here, if there might be a way to work with the staff BNP who, or the Senate BNP staff who are interested in this, and the ones that are putting this out there, that if they do not put it in the sunset, we would commit to working with them to developing something that did come in under our act that was that would protect consumers and was better thought out and gave a avenue for stakeholders to not be disenfranchised. So I just wondered if that would be one option.
Thank you so much. Anybody else who would like to make a comment? Board members? Yeah, so
Tara's raising her hand.
Okay, go ahead, Tara.
Just to follow up on Dr. Bradbury's comment about the Chiropractic Initiative Act, I don't know the ins and outs of this, but this may be an issue for the Chiropractic Examiners Board, in that their initiative prohibits chiropractors from practicing medicine. That's in Section 7 of the Initiative Act. Yet their regulations define what is the practice of chiropractic, and it's about manipulating and adjusting the spinal column and other joints of the human body. And it also authorizes the use of all necessary mechanical, hygienic, and sanitary measures, including but not limited to air, cold, diet, exercise, heat, light, massage, physical culture, rest, ultrasound, water, and physical therapy techniques in the course of chiropractic manipulations. Well, when I go to proposed Business and Professions Code Section 1060, subdivision B would authorize the licensed chiropractor to provide animal chiropractic services as an authorized animal practitioner under the Veterinary Medicine Practice Act, consistent with the scope of chiropractic practice. I think because all of the definitions of the scope of chiropractic practice come from the Initiative Act, so it's questionable whether or not veterinary medicine is prohibited from practice under the Initiative Act. I don't know. That might be a question for the legislature or the voters or the Chiropractic Examiners Board. But because the regulations further clarifying what that means are aimed at human bodies and not animals, it seems like the Veterinary Medical Board is going to struggle to figure out what is the practice of animal chiropractic in terms of the Veterinary Medicine Practice Act. I just wanted to highlight that. This is not obviously a discussion between the two boards, but that issue might be something that the Chiropractic Examiners Board is wrestling with as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Bradbury, you still have your hand up?
Sorry, I'll take it down.
Okay. Anybody else who wants to make a comment? Okay, I guess we've heard from most of our board members, and I myself share the same concerns, and we've been through this before. We've opened up a conversation with the chiropractic practitioners, and we were open to discussing it more. And I think we're just put in this position right now wherein we all feel that this is being rushed through. So I guess the question, Jessica, is with the concerns that you also have highlighted, what would this board need to do next? Do we put in a vote of like our position, or is that even a thing? Because if their their intention is to put this on the sunset bill, what is the best next step, I guess, for us?
So that's really up to the board. But the board could take a position that if this were to put into the sunset bill, you could take a position on what you would want. You could do a support if amended, oppose less amended, or take no position at all. So it's really up to the board what you want to do and what you want to communicate back to the legislature.
Okay, so does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to oppose this bill.
I second the motion.
So Patrick's.
Okay, so we have Dr. Bradbury making the motion, and then we have Mr. Espinoza who's seconding. Can I just get a little clarification on that motion, Dr. Bradbury? Because I know that you're opposing it. Would you also like to share with the legislature that the board is willing to work with the Senate committee in finding a solution to making this work in another bill, or do you just want to straight oppose with all the concerns that are raised?
Well, I'll make a motion with what you just said. I don't know how the rest of the board feels about it, but that would be my recommendation.
So Tara Welch, Board Counsel, can I just get some clarification on the motion? I think it's to oppose Assembly Bill 2775 if amended with these amendments before the board.
No, it sounds like she wants a straight oppose.
Straight oppose.
But in the opposition letter, because Dr. Bradbury had also talked about we will oppose this bill because of all the concerns about how it's being put into the sunset bill. And so oppose the bill, but then also put in there that they're not necessarily against the ideas going on. We really wanted to work through with the legislature on what a workable solution would be, essentially.
Correct.
My point is that, so right now you just be opposing
yes, that's
the
what it sounds like she wants.
sunset bill. It hasn't been amended yet with these amendments.
So could we do it if
yes.
if the bill is amended, then we oppose.
Yes.
Because I don't want to do oppose if amended, because then they'll think that if amended with our amendment. So
Right.
it's if the sunset bill is amended to include this proposal, we're opposed.
That's right.
Okay. And then Dr. Maniak, are you okay with that as well?
It was.
I think it's
I'm
bad.
Mr. Espinoza, I'm sorry. So
Yes, yes. Right.
we do have public comment in the room, so I know we have to go public comment. So I was going to open this up, if you don't mind, Dr. Solcito, to public comment, since we have a motion in a second.
Go ahead.
Do you want to get?
Good almost afternoon, members of the California Veterinary Medical Board. My name is Kristen Walker. I'm the Executive Officer of the Board of Chiropractic Examiners. I just wanted to relay on behalf of the board that BCE remains committed to collaborating closely with VMB to ensure strong consumer protection and clear, consistent standards for the safe practice of animal chiropractic. We believe the best approach is for our two boards to come together and develop statutory language that reflects our shared mission of consumer protection and addresses the concerns of both BCE and VMB. We would also like to relay that, on behalf of the board, we would be very open to working with VMB directly on language and with the Senate BNP staff as far as if we were to come together on a future bill on this topic. So thank you for your time this afternoon. On behalf of the board, we're here and we'd like to collaborate with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Kristen.
Thank you.
All right.
Any other public comments in the room? Jessica?
No. Are there any other public that had joined any of the locations?
None from me.
Okay.
So do we just have the moderator open it up for public comment for those participating online?
Yes, please.
Moderator?
Hi, this is the moderator. If you would like to make a comment on this agenda item, you may look for the raise hand icon at the bottom of your WebEx screen. And if you're a call-in public member, you may press *3 to raise your hand. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. I see no raised hands. I return the floor back to you, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so since we have a motion on the floor, so do we put it for a vote now?
Yes, I will call the vote. Ms. Pulowski?
Yes.
Dr. Bradbury?
Yes.
Mr. Espinoza?
Yes.
Dr. Maniak?
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Orlowski?
Yes.
Dr. Tomlinson is absent, and I failed to say that in the record in the beginning, so apologies. Ms. Estri?
Yes.
And Dr. Solcito?
Yes.
All right, motion carries. And that is it. So, Dr. Solcito, we are ready to adjourn when you are.
Okay, so everybody, it's good to see you. And before we adjourn, I just want to say looking forward to meeting you in a couple of weeks at our board meeting. Okay?
And welcome, Marie, to our first meeting.
Yes. Oh, yeah, Marie, you're welcome. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.